Estevao Willian is making more history with the Brazil national team. Chelsea look to bring back Champions League winning defender in cut price deal. And we take a little look at the injury and fitness issues pertaining to some of our key players leading up to the return of the Premier League with our match against Burnley. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today, that means we're looking at a few little bits, man. It's the end of the international break, but we've still got a couple more days before the football. The calm before the storm. But there is some very interesting news to talk about today, so we'll get into it in a sec. But guys, if you're enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so we'll start with Estevao Willian. Boys had a good international break. Boys had a fantastic international break. 2 goals against Senegal and Tunisia. The goal against Senegal was absolutely awesome, and he got a penalty against Tunisia yesterday, and will have been disappointed not to have been offered the second one. Oh man, he came so close to scoring at the end of the game to win it for Brazil as well. They came out with a 1-1 draw, which was a bit disappointing, and Estevao wasn't given the second penalty, and after the confidence with which he took the first, manager Carlo Ancelotti may well be regretting that decision, but at the end of the day, it's not like they were worrying about getting into the World Cup, was it? So, one of them. But Estevao Willian is making history for the Brazil team. Now, he isn't the holder of this record, but he has come second in a record that's been held by Pelé for a really, really long time, and that in itself is impressive. There's nothing wrong with being second to Pelé. So, Estevao Willian has just become the second youngest ever player to score 5 goals for the senior Brazil team, which is awesome. He managed it at 18 years old in 17 months. Pelé was 17. Pelé, oh mate, you know what I mean? Pelé's Pelé, man. Do you know what I mean? And like I say, it's not a disservice for Estevao Willian to be coming second to Pelé. The fact that he's in front of so many other unbelievable Brazilian players that, have had opportunities to get into the squad from a young age, and the fact he's been trusted by Carlo Ancelotti in a World Cup year to be getting goals from and winning games, absolutely stunning, man. Estevao Willian is just going from strength to strength, and you'd have to think he's going to be chomping at the bit to get game time when he comes back to Chelsea, man. And based on some of the news that we've got to talk about in a minute, I initially wasn't sure we'd see him in the Burnley game, but maybe I was wrong about that, man. Maybe it's looking more and more likely based on Estevao Willian's form and the condition of some of the other players that Estevao might get that opportunity. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the news story that's actually been rumbling on for a little while. It's been going on for at least a few weeks, but it's hotted up recently with news of a bid. Supposedly, Chelsea have offered Real Madrid £7 million to bring Antonio Rudiger back to Stamford Bridge. Ah, mate. Do it. do it. Oh, mate, I would love to see Rudiger back at the Bridge, man. So it's a bit of a weird one. So Rudiger is in the last year of his contract with Real Madrid, and if they don't sell him in January, they risk losing him on a free at the end of the season, which they're not going to want to do. Obviously, they're probably not going to want to do that, which is funny because Real Madrid haven't been opposed to getting the odd free transfer here and there, have they? Looking at you, Trent Alexander-Arnold. But at the same time, if there's money on the table in January, then maybe they'll take it. Now, what we have already seen is supposedly 7 mil is too low for Real Madrid. We might be in a bit of a Mike Maignan situation here, and I hope we don't do the same thing we did with Mike Maignan. If they want 12 to 15 mil for Rudiger, there's nuance, but an on-form fit Rudiger, even at 32 years old, which he is now, 12 to 15 mil for the next couple of seasons. Do you know what I mean? He's 32 now. If he has anything like a Thiago Silva style, a renaissance, then maybe he could play until he's 35, 36. Stylistically, they're very different. Rudiger definitely relies on his physicality a lot more than Thiago Silva did. Thiago Silva, a very good technical footballing defender. Rudiger maybe doesn't have the same gas in him to go till he's 40 like Thiago Silva did, but Rudiger could definitely do a job for a couple of years at Chelsea if he were to be fit. Now, this is where the issue comes. So, look, I'm all up for bring Rudiger back, man. Do you know what I mean? He was so good for Thomas Tuchel in our Champions League winning campaign, absolutely unbelievable. Bags of character, a bit of aggression, and now he's loaded with experience. He's got titles under his belt, and he's just going to be something that we absolutely need around the dressing room at the moment, which is experience and leadership. But Antonio Rudiger has had quite a patchy injury-ridden 2025. In April, he had surgery on his knee, and then in September, I think it was, he suffered a thigh muscle injury. So, little bit of a worry there. So he's just basically come back to fitness. He's only made one appearance for Real Madrid in the league this season so far. And obviously he's, wanted to play football. He's potentially getting towards the end of his career. I think he'd get game time at Chelsea, do you know what I mean? But what we don't need is another injury-ridden player to keep our doctors busy, do you know what I mean? We've definitely got enough of that going on at the moment. But if Antonio Rudiger has been treated properly, do you know what I mean? If he's, come back from injury properly, we could see him, definitely be a solid backup, solid rotation option for some small and big games. Like I say, man, the thing for me is just like, if we're not going to go in and spend huge money on that guy, and I don't even know who that guy is at the moment, someone like Antonio Rudiger completely makes sense to me for a January transfer. We need to reinforce the centre-back position with quality. This is the issue. We've got loads of centre-backs, right? But the likes of Axel Disasi and Tyson Adarabioyo in particular are kind of flattering to deceive. Josh Achiampong looks really promising, but he is 19, and I've lost my head with him a few times and been like, he should just play every game. But at the end of the day, he's 19 and needs to be bedded into the team properly. So we shouldn't really put all of that pressure on him yet. To have someone like an Antonio Rudiger there, who could essentially be a transitional stopgap in order to let Josh Achiampong find his way into the team, that totally makes sense to me, man. That totally makes sense to me, and I'd really like to see it. And like I say, leadership, experience, winning mentality, little bit of the dark arts as well you get with Tony, don't you? Tony Rudiger, definitely not a stranger to the odd push, pull, pinch or rough tackle, do you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, that's the game, man. Football's a contact sport, do you know what I mean? And no one knows that more than Antonio Rudiger does. But ultimately, that's not his whole game. He is a solid defender. He's been amazing for Real Madrid. He was amazing for Chelsea. And if we could, like I say, if we can get half of what we got from Thiago Silva, from Antonio Rudiger over the next couple of years, I'm down. Bring him back. I'm all in. So moving on from Estevao making history and a potential return for Antonio Rudiger, which I really want that to happen, let's talk about some of the news pertaining to Chelsea's fitness struggles, injury, woes, whatever you want to call it. But ultimately, the Premier League's nearly back. We're playing Burnley on Saturday, and some of our key players have been, having issues. The most notable two being, of course, Enzo Fernandez and Pedro Neto, who withdrew from the international break in order to rest, recuperate, and recover at Cobham. So, we're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about Cole Palmer as well, and we're also going to talk about Jamie Gittins, who picked up a little injury during the international break. So, first things first, we'll do Cole Palmer because that's the really big one, right? That's the really big one. A lot of us, myself included, have been pinning our hopes on Palmer maybe getting some minutes in the Burnley game. Now, I never expected him to start, 100% never expected him to start, but it does look like maybe that's probably not going to be the case, and the majority of reports are now pointing to and indicating Cole Palmer's return is more likely to be the Barcelona game, which I kind of didn't really expect him to start that game either. I was hoping he could get 10, 15 cursory minutes in the Burnley game, maybe a little bit of a longer run out at the end of the Barcelona game, depending on how that game goes, and then hopefully be fit to start at Arsenal. That's potentially been pushed back by one game, so it's looking like he's not going to make the Burnley game and is looking to be back for the Barcelona game. And at the end of the day, it's one of those, isn't it? It's like, it's annoying because I'm desperate to see him on the pitch again, but we just got to look after him, man. We can't take any risks with Cole Palmer's fitness and, this injury trouble, because at the end of the day, we're not even just talking about these few games. We're not even just talking about this season. We're talking about managing Cole Palmer's injury to make sure that he can come back stronger and fitter and be able to be in our squad for years to come. Do you know what I mean? Maybe one of the worst things that could happen is we mismanage this injury and it permanently affects his career. So every game missed is annoying, but in the short term, right? But I'd rather he misses the Burnley game and only gets a few minutes across the Barcelona and Arsenal games, if that means that he's going to come back better. Pedro Neto, he seems to be cool. He, sort of pulled out, he got asked to be taken off in the Wolves game and, pulled out of the international break. He's back training with the team. All seems to be okay with him. Enzo Fernandez supposedly is still a little bit of a worry. We're day to day with Enzo Fernandez at the moment. He's been suffering from the synovitis thing for a really, really long time. And even though he's been playing for Chelsea, it's still been, a problem for him, which is nuts because he played so well in the Wolves game, man. Like, he played really, really well. Must have really pushed himself. But at the end of the day, there's no concrete news yet to say that Enzo Fernandez is definitely going to be back for the Burnley game. So it might be okay. He might make it, he might not. It's Schrodinger's midfielder, isn't it? It's like, it's the same with Moises Caicedo, man. Moises Caicedo can not train for a week and then he can feature in the game. And this is starting to feel how like it's going to be with Enzo Fernandez as well, especially with his injury being a bit more pronounced in terms of, like, we know a lot more about synovitis. Moises Caicedo, they've been a little bit cagier with telling us exactly what's wrong with him. But with Enzo Fernandez, we know, so it kind of makes sense. The Burnley game, not so fussed about. At the end of the day, these are the kind of players that I would rather, sit back and make sure that we are okay for. The Barcelona game and the Arsenal game, which are two of the biggest games of our entire season. And we'll finish up on Jamie Gittins. So Jamie Gittins actually got an injury in this international break just gone. He was called up for the England under-21s and was on the receiving end of a fairly rough tackle, which basically saw him instantly go off. That was a little bit worrying. Our left wing depth isn't amazing. I guess at the end of the day, we do still have Tyreek George. So although Jamie Gittins is doing really well recently, Tyreek George is having a fairly good season as well, albeit he's mostly been playing from the striker spot. But if Jamie Gittins isn't available, Tyreek George is available as a backup to the left wing, and Garnacho seems to be in front of him anyway in terms of starting, so not the end of the world. But even with all of that said, supposedly Jamie Gittins is okay. Do you know what I mean? The reports aren't indicating that it was a serious injury. I don't think he's back training with the squad yet or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously international break's only just finished. And I'm not sure what would have happened if they'd have sent him straight back to Cobham or if he stayed out with the England team and did his recovery there. But either way, there's nothing to say he's out for a while or he's going to miss weeks or whatever, so chances are he's going to be available for these next 3 games, and you would have thought he's probably going to get some minutes in the Burnley game at least, isn't he? Even if he doesn't start, I do expect Alejandro Garnacho to start that game, but either way, I think Jamie Gittins is okay, and, the bigger worry definitely surrounds Enzo Fernandez, and obviously Cole Palmer sounds like he's been pushed back a little bit. So that's it. That's, the big news in terms, I say big news, it's just the news, the injury news. We're always talking about injury news because we are Injury FC. Charity FC, Injury FC, we're always the thing that we don't want to be called, aren't we? What an absolute nightmare. But yeah, that's it, guys. So going into the Burnley game, we're still going to have a strong lineup one way or the other. Tomorrow, I will be releasing my big match preview for the Burnley game, and I say it's a big match preview because it's a long one. It's a 40-minute long one. It's not just a match preview. It's a chat with my good friend Rich, who is the only Burnley fan that I know, about Burnley season in general, how the things have been going with them since Scott Parker took over, how the ex-Chelsea boys are getting on in Leslie Ugochukwu and Amani Broya. We had a really, really, really good chat. I will be releasing that video tomorrow, I think, as long as I can get a few certain little bits done. But either way, that's a big video that I've got coming out soon. So I'm going to wrap this video up right there. Thank you very much for sticking around until the end of the video if you did. And guys, if you're chilling, you've got a tasty beverage and you would like to listen to some more Stamford Sync, I implore you to listen to this video here, which is a video I recorded about a week ago now with my new friend Jay from Talking Chelsea. We went through the ups and the downs, the good, the bad and the ugly pertaining to Enzo Maresca, because it was time to talk about Enzo Maresca. So go and check that video out if you haven't already. Nice and guys, I hope you're all having an absolutely wicked day and I'll catch up with you very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.